All right, we are live, so we'll call our Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order for August 23rd, 2022. Welcome to everybody that's here. First item on the agenda is we'll ask to verify the quorum. Roll call.
Adrian Mosqueda,
Present.
Ron Rice,
Present.
Jim Allen, Tim Bowers,
Present.
Scott Mulhern,
Here.
Danny Bryant,
Present?
Matias Rosales, Gary Black,
Here.
Bobby McDermott,
Here.
Ron Van Wy.
Here.
Sherman, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we do the pledge, let me read my little script tonight that we read each week or each month that we meet. If you're parked in the rear employee gated parking lot, please move your car to the front north parking lot to avoid having your vehicle locked in. Please sign in at the back door by the rear table. If you speak tonight, please state your name and address for the record before speaking at the podium. When you do speak, please address the chairman, not the audience or the staff, and then I'll direct those questions to the proper source. There is a 3-minute timer. If we feel we ever have to use it, it's the chairman's discretion. We typically do not use the timer, but it is there if the meeting extends too long. Sometimes if Tony gets really long-winded, we need to use the timer. If you have handouts, give them for the commission, give them to staff, and staff will distribute them. And the same as if you use the overhead projector, give staff a copy, and that will become a part of the permanent record. Restrooms and drinking fountains are out the hall down behind us. Use those facilities as needed, and no food or beverages other than water in the meeting room, please. Now, if you'll all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 on tonight's agenda is approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission regular minutes of the meeting for July 26th, 2022.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Black, seconded by Commissioner Bowers to approve the minutes as posted. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Item number 4 on tonight's agenda is rezoning case number 22-10. Leticia Guillermo requests the rezoning of 2 parcels totaling 5.46 acres in size from Suburban Ranch 3-acre minimum to Suburban Ranch 1-acre minimum. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman Bryant. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman Bryant, members of the commission. Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning and Zoning Division. This request is to rezone 2 parcels totaling 5.46 gross acres in size from Suburban Ranch 3-acre minimum to Suburban Site-Built 1-acre minimum. The property is located in the City of Yuma General Planning Area at the vicinity of the southwest corner of Cliff Street, also known as 12th Street, and the alignment of 47th Avenue. And the intent is to split the property into 5 parcels for residential development. The map shows parcels 46, 47 crosshatch as the sub properties. And surrounding this property, we have to the north, parcel 37, the location of a manufactured home. We have parcels to the northwest and west, zone RA40, and mixture of mobile homes, manufactured homes, and site-built homes. And further west, a property zone of SR1, parcel 50 and 51 is the location of two site-built homes. Parcel 41 to the southwest is zone SSB2 and is the location of a site-built home. We have parcel to the south, parcel is vacant, it is zoned Suburban Ranch 2-acre minimum. Properties further south are within the Valley Citrus Estates subdivision zone R140 and site-built homes. Parcel to the southwest is vacant, is within the city of Yuma limits. Parcel 56. Parcels to the east are within the Verde Valley Acre subdivision containing mixture of manufactured homes and site-built homes. Running east of the subject property is a 65-foot easement, wide easement that belongs to the USBR Central Stub Number 2. And there's also an existing easement that runs from Cliff Street south towards the subject property that provides a means of legal access to the properties. This site plan was submitted by the applicant. It shows how the property, the developer intends to split these properties. And this is the aerial imagery that shows the properties and the conditions of, this is a fairly recent picture, probably a couple months old. It shows, here I represent the existing easement, the central stub easement, and the existing 20-foot wide easement. This is looking west at the subject property, looking north along the USBR 65-foot wide easement. And staff did receive comments from the Yuma County Water Users Association requesting a non-access easement off the Central Stub Number 3 right-of-way, and that a construction of a concrete masonry unit fence built within the private properties running parallel to the drain to provide for safety for future residents. And also, we received comments from the City of Yuma that this proposal would be in conformance with the City of Yuma's general plan. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning case with the following conditions. Performance conditions, within 60 days of board approval, the owner agent shall provide the IRS waiver, infrastructure disclosure statement, schedule for development, and agricultural disclosure statement. In the following schedule for development, number one, that within 1 year approval by the board, and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall apply for a grading permit with the Yuma County Engineering Department to improve the 20-foot wide ingress-egress easement that I showed on the slide that provides direct access to the new lots with a standard B type road. And the eastern edge of the ingress-egress easement shall include a 1-foot non-access easement for any proposed lots that runs parallel to the USBR Central Stub Number 2 right-of-way. And that would be to ensure that there's no access off of that easement. Number two, within 1 year of board approval, the property shall be split by a land division permit pursuant to the Yuma County zoning ordinance, and that the easement, it includes that easement that I referred to in item 2 of the schedule for development. Number three, within 1 year of board approval, the owner shall submit certification from a licensed engineer confirming that the roadway is built to standard B, and within 1 year of approval by the board, and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner also shall construct a protective fence at least 6 foot in height of a galvanized wire or a masonry wall between the USBR Central Stub Number 2 right-of-way and the new parcels. That was per recommendation of the Yuma County Water User Association. And number five, that within 1 year of board approval, and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall submit certification from the Yuma County Water User Association confirming that the wall or fence is built according to their satisfaction. And that concludes staff's presentation. Ready to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions of staff at this point?
I do. I just have a point of clarity. On page 2, under surrounding zoning and land uses, in the center, it references adjacent school districts that would be affected. I think that might be an error. It's naming Yuma Elementary School District Number 1. I believe that to be Crane School District.
Thank you, Chairman Bryan. That's something that staff will look into and verify that and make any corrections before we present this to the board.
Thank you. Yes,
Yes, on the map, okay, could you bring the map up or the aerial photo up where you had the road location? There you go. Okay, where is the access into the property if you have a 6-foot fence or masonry wall along the north edge and there isn't a road?
Chairman
How
Bryant?
are they going to get in?
Chairman Bryant, Commissioner, the proposed wall will be, we are recommending that, staff is recommending that it be built, you can't see the arrow here. That it be built along the east property line of the proposed parcels,
Run north and south, correct?
running north and south.
East property line running north and south. So the map you have there, the top of the map is north, right?
Yes.
Oh, let me see if I could represent.
Or
it
is
here.
the top of the map
There we go.
west?
So, you can't see it here. See if I could make this red. The wall is being proposed, you can't, it doesn't,
Top is Clipsy with every 12.
there you go. You see where red is? That's where the wall is being proposed.
Okay.
The easement is gonna be running, the gray, it represents the existing easement. that
Correct.
We are recommending that it be improved to a standard B. So it will run north and connect to 12th Street.
So there would be another road inside for people to access the property?
That is their legal means of access right now. We are recommending, the staff is recommending that it be improved to a standard B.
Okay, thank you.
And I could, this is how they're proposing to split the property. So the easement would be coming up from, the easement is already there, but we're just proposing that they improve it along the east side of the properties.
Okay.
any other commissioners have questions of staff?
Yeah, Chairman Bryan, I have one. Mr. Rubio, as far as that goes, the other properties that are listed, that are above, coming off of 12th Street, why were they not required to have the fencing there?
Chairman Bryant, this is a recommendation that was made recently by the Yuma County Water Users Association. I'm not really sure what kind of recommendations were made when those properties were rezoned, and let me see if they're, it appears that they were rezoned possibly some years back to SR3, but that was not recommended by the Yuma County Water Users, so staff did not take that in consideration.
I agree, it's a great option, a reason that should be there, but I just was curious of why. But thank you.
Commissioner
Bryant?
McDermott? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, and I'm sure that future rezoning request, if the Yuma County Water Users Association is consistent, they're probably required to extend for future splits in the area.
Commissioner McDermott?
Yes, that's a earthen canal, is that the Yuma County Water Users Canal? That's not lined, right? Concrete lined?
I believe I have some pictures here. Let's see. I don't believe they are, but just to make sure.
Reclamation water line.
No.
Online.
Most of those are not lined, that's why I was curious. Just for maintenance, I know it's a real big problem on the Yuma Mesa where people build their canal right alongside. Is this irrigated property? Are these parcels, have Yuma County Water Users water?
Chairman Bryant, I don't believe they are irrigated.
Okay, and I don't see, so they will have to provide a method of irrigation, is that correct?
That is not, Chairman Bryant, that is not a condition of the rezoning.
Okay, okay. But I would think that people, if there's water available, they're gonna want it.
Yes, I think you're probably right, but you don't believe that they are part of the irrigation district and have water available. Is that accurate?
That is correct, Chairman Bryant.
So that's why they're,
Okay.
yeah, they're not having access. Any other commissioners have questions of staff? If not, it's the applicant present. Would the applicant like to say anything? Applicant is not arising, so we will open the public hearing portion of the meeting now and ask if there's anyone here tonight who wants to speak regarding this rezoning request, 22-10. Please come forward, name and address for the record.
Good evening, Chairman. Thank you. I am Janice Day, and I'm representing the property owned in Valley Citrus Estates, which I understand is within the 300 feet of discussion today. I also own, along with Juan Cosahai, I'm guessing it's just adjacent to 47th Avenue. I'm not too sure how to do this. So I am in Valley Citrus Estates, and to the north of that is a parcel 2.5 acres. And as we understand, that Leticia Guillermo wanted to provide a road coming into that property. And I just would like to say no. We bought the property to kind of protect our area. We have a dirt road coming in that's 47th Avenue. And I would just like to say no. We would rather not have that happen.
Okay, maybe I'll go to staff and see if I can understand. The right-of-way that you're being asked to be improved would come and butt up against the property she's describing, is that?
Chairman Bryant,
Yeah.
I've marked on the map the properties that the customer is representing, what she owns. Her properties will not be affected because there's no legal means of access to 47th Avenue. The customer was made aware, or the applicant was made aware that access will be off of 12th Street. And in conversations with her, she's okay with it. And just for the record, Chairman Bryant, the owner or the agent is not present today at the meeting.
So, but we can assure this citizen that her property will not be impacted and there will not be a road built on her
Chairman
property.
Bryant, there's no legal means of access. If the property owner does not grant them access, they will not be able to have access off of 47th Avenue.
Very good.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Chairman, can I
Appreciate
get her
your time.
address for the record, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. My address is Valley Citrus Estates. It's 8710 South 47th Avenue. Excuse me, can I refer to my partial owner? Do you know the address of the other property that is to the north? Okay, it's just to the north. It is not considered part of Valley Citrus.
We see that property on the map here, and then she just needed your address because of the
super.
record. So
Okay,
thank you
and
so
that's the
much.
it's the Rousseau Trust. It's under that property name. Okay, thank you
Thank
again
you so much. Appreciate it. Anyone else in the audience like to speak tonight concerning rezoning case 22-10, either for or against? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting. We'll come back to the commissioners for discussion and action.
Yes, sir. I'm still, the statement by staff indicates that the subject property does not appear to have access. I think we need to find out whether there is an irrigation, that is an irrigable parcel of land. Because if it is, it's divided into 5 parcels and somebody wants to irrigate. I just think we need to clarify that before, or sometime in the process is all. Because Yuma County water users can tell you whether it has a water by or not, and if it doesn't, then they have to drill a well. But if they're entitled to water through the irrigation district system, they can go to a new owner could go to the district and request water service. I'm just,
Chairman Bryant, that's something that staff can look into prior to presenting this case to the board, as far as any water rights or any availability of irrigation water to the property. In conversation with the agent, the agent looked at the conditions. She had no problem with, the listed conditions. And we did not add a condition of as far as access to irrigation water. And I mean, it wasn't brought up, but it's something that we can look into and
Right, I
water
think
user.
Commissioner McDermott's concern is quite often when we do this, one of the conditions is, if there's irrigation, is that they have to provide a suitable irrigation to deliver water to each new property. And I think you probably would have done that if it had been in the irrigation district. But between now and the time it gets to the Board of Supervisors, you could clarify that. And
Mr. Chairman, it states
Chairman Bryant?
the subject property is within the Yuma County Water Users
yeah,
Irrigation
it's
District,
it's
but
in you.
does not appear to have.
Yeah, and that's the do not appear is the thing that bothers me. I think we need to find out whether it does or it doesn't. And
That will
then-
look into that.
Thank you, sir.
so,
I can just see nightmares, that's all.
yeah, we understand what you're pursuing there, and there's time to take care of that between now and the supervisor's hearing. Is there any other commissioners that have comments or questions?
Chairman, like to make a motion?
Yes, Commissioner Van Loan?
I move that we accept the rezoning request for this rezoning case number 22-10 as presented by staff.
I'll second that.
There is a motion by Commissioner Van Wy, seconded by Commissioner Black, to recommend approval of rezoning case number 22-10 with the conditions and as recommended by staff. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, nay? It is a unanimous decision to recommend approval, and I would also ask that you do pursue the irrigation question before it gets to the board. Okay, we go to item number 5 on tonight's agenda. Rezoning case number 22-11. Maria D. and Jose Alvarado request the rezoning of a parcel approximately 10 acres in size from rural area 10 acres to rural area 5 acre minimum. Staff report, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Bryant, members of the commission. Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning Zone Division. The property is located in the Yuma Mesa Planning Area at 16272 South Avenue A in Somerton, Arizona. And the intent is to create 2 lots for residential and agricultural development. The property is also in the 70 decibel noise zone. The case map shows parcel 5 crosshatch as the subject property, and surrounding the property, everything around this property is zoned RA rural area 10 acre minimum. And to the north, we have property that is vacant and currently in ag. Parcel 7 to the west is vacant. Parcel 8 there's location of a site-built home. Parcel 754-15001 is also location of site-built home. Parcel to the south is parcel 754-16001, location of a site-built home. Parcel 2 is in ag. Parcel 4 is in ag. Parcel 3 is the location of a site-built home. Parcel 4 is fallow land. This shows the property currently has a site-built home, and it does have access off of the north side. It's only a 12-foot access easement from Avenue A that is deficient. As part of the condition, we'll require that they make that a 20-foot minimum width requirement. This shows the aerial imagery. This is looking south along Avenue A with the arrow showing the entrance access to the property. This shows the existing 12-foot access easement. This is looking southwest at the suburb property. looking southeast at the property, looking northwest at the property. We received no comments from people within the 300-foot radius. MCS did not object to this proposal. The Yuma County Airport Authority stated that this is not compatible, but if the committee approves this, that they make sure that it's compliant with the FAA Order 1051E, which is basically a noise level reduction requirements for the future construction of homes on the property, and that those will be met per building code. And Unit B Irrigation District stated that the parcel has access to irrigation water. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning case with the following performance conditions: that within 60 days of board approval, they provide the ARS 121134 waiver, infrastructure, navigation, agriculture, and a schedule for development disclosure statement. And also that the following schedule for development: that within 1 year of board approval and prior to approval of the land division permit, that the owner shall apply and obtain a grading permit from the Department of Development Services to improve the egress easement as access built roads in a dust-free condition, a standard B, to all proposed parcels or 2 lots. And number 2, within 1 year of board approval and prior to the approval of the land division permit, the owner shall submit certification from a licensed engineer confirming that the road is built according to the standard C. And number 3, within 1 year of board approval, the applicant shall put the property in accordance with land division permit requirements, and that any required irrigation and egress easement shall be recorded with the land division permit. And number 4, that within 1 year of board approval and prior to the approval of the land division permit, all lots shall be provided with the means of irrigation water, and that they provide a letter from the irrigation system saying so. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Good, thank you. Any commissioners have questions of staff? Seeing no one, is the applicant present? Would the applicant like to speak? If not, we'll open the public hearing portion of this meeting and ask if there's anyone in the audience that'd like to speak concerning rezoning case number 22-11, either for or against. No one rises to speak. We'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, come back to the commissioners for discussion and action. Staff has a puzzled look.
No, Chairman, just want to clarify, I believe that during my presentation, I may have stated standard B, but it's actually standard C. And also, the applicant is here. They're okay with all the conditions. So I don't believe they have anything to say.
Right, they didn't want to speak. So we're closed. We're back to the commission.
Mr. Chairman, will you take a motion?
Yes, sir.
You know, since the Marine base is okay with this, I am too, honestly. So I would make a motion to recommend approval of rezoning case number 22-11.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Black with multiple seconds. I'll take Commissioner McDermott's. She was the loudest. The motion and the second to recommend approval of rezoning case number 22-11 as presented by staff with conditions as presented. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, before we go all the way into this, could we get up and get an explanation of the building type of what they identified there? 1E- something, it's Marine Corps.
The noise
The
reduction?
noise reduction. The staff.
Chairman Bryant, yes, I could provide to you what was submitted by the Yuma County Airport Authority.
Never heard of that.
It is actually a land use compatibility with yearly day-night average sounds, and it makes reference to the 70 decibel noise zone. If they would recommend that no new houses are built, but if the committee allows or recommends approval of a home, that they provide Noise level reduction requirement of at least 25 decibel noise zones and 30 decibel should be incorporated into building codes and be considered in individual approvals. And then it goes on with other stuff.
No, that's interesting. I didn't know.
Almost-
That's the first time I'd heard it.
Almost all new
That low,
construction,
it's that low E thing is what, yeah.
almost all new construction meets those requirements. We have to do some testing in older manufactured homes if we move them into the noise zone.
ER value and stuff.
Got it.
So if you're in the manufactured housing industry, you know what that
Okay,
is.
you know, okay. I could ask you out of the meeting, I guess, but apologize.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote on the motion and the second to recommend approval. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, recommended for approval. Next item on tonight's agenda is rezoning case number 22-12. Adrian Vega from Dahl Robbins and Associates Incorporated, agent for BCH Properties LLC, requests the zoning of a partial approximately 88.55 gross acres in size from rural area 10 to suburban site-built 2-acre minimums.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I need to recuse myself from rezoning case 22-12. I'm currently employed by the agent for the applicant.
Let the record show that Commissioner Mulhern has declared a conflict on this rezoning case number 22-12, will not participate in discussion or action concerning the rezoning case. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman Bryan, members of the commission, Juan Leal Rubio, senior planner. This property is located in the Yuma Mesa planning area at the southwest corner of County 16th Street and Avenue 4.5E in Yuma. And the intent is to create 4 parcels of 2 acres and 1 parcel of 78.80 acres in size. This shows the case map. Parcel 2 is the subject property. To the north, we have parcel 1, which is currently in ag. To the west, we have parcel 213-06001, zone RA10, and it's currently in ag. Parcel to the south is zone SR2, parcel 213-06003. It's currently desert terrain, open desert. And then and to the east, we have the Berry Goldwater Range within City of Yuma boundaries and open desert. And to the northeast, we have parcels 4 and 3, zone RA5, currently location of a site-built home. This shows the proposal that shows the 4 parcels on the corner, and then the remaining possibly a future subdivision. This is the aerial imagery. This is looking east along County 16th Street, looking southeast at the suburb property, looking south at the suburb property, looking southwest at the property. And staff received a letter in opposition from the owner of the 2 properties within the notification area. And MTS does not object to this proposal. And staff is recommending approval of this rezoning case with the following performance condition: that within 60 days of board approval, the owner or agent shall provide the IRS 121134 waiver and the following disclosure statements: infrastructure, aviation, range, agriculture, and a schedule for development. Staff is recommending the following schedule for development: that within 1 year of board approval and prior to the approval of the land division permit, the owner shall apply for and obtain a grading permit from our department to improve the egress easement as an access built road in a dust-free condition with a standard B. That would be a standard B road. Number 2, that within 1 year of board approval and prior to the approval of the land division permit, the owner shall submit certification from a licensed engineer confirming that the road has been built according to the standard B. And that within 1 year of board approval, the owner or agent shall submit the property in accordance with the land division permit requirements, and that any required egress easement shall be recorded with the land division permit. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, sir. Do any commissioners have questions of staff at this point?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner McDermott?
So just to clarify, we're rezoning the entire 88.55 acres to RA2.
That is correct, Chairman Bryant.
So, okay, and then we're breaking out, is this just the initial development? This is weird. Okay, it's agricultural land, RA2s, so there's going to be an irrigation system put in for all of these parcels once they get 40 parcels in there?
Chairman Bryant, that's maybe a question for the agent.
Yeah, we can get him forward when the questions, we'll bring the agent forward in a moment.
Okay.
Is there any other commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Rice.
Bobby, are we only looking at 4 parcels that they're going to do right now? And do they have to come back to us to do the rest of it? If they want to do it, or that whole thing is 2-acre blocks, and they can do anything in that 88 acres they want to do?
Well, what I understand, if they try to do more than 5 parcels, they would fall into subdivision regulations and they would have to do a subdivision, but that would be a question for staff.
Chairman Bryant, under current land division permit requirements found in the Yuma County zoning ordinance, the 5th lot, constitutes a land division permit. If they were to do a 6th lot or even a subdivision, that would now be a subdivision that would have to comply with subdivision regulations. The applicant agent is showing future lots here, so I believe the intent is for a future subdivision.
Again, we'll get that answered when the agent comes forward, what their intent is. But they couldn't do a wildcat subdivision out there and break off another 10 lots under the same ownership.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I guess I have a real problem with rezoning the whole 80 acres when they're only going to develop 8 initially, and I realize the applicant has yet to speak, but, and that, there's so many things to consider. If we do that, we haven't protected any of the other lots from,
I agree
irrigation
with
and roads and ingress and egress.
One at a time.
It's a
Okay.
bad application. I don't like it.
Any other commissioners have comments or questions for staff at this point?
So let's let him.
If not, let's ask the agent if he'd like to come forward and explain the current and future intent.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Adrian Vega, Don Robinson Associates, 1560 South Fifth Avenue. Okay, so we were engaged by the owner of the property to rezone 2-acre parcels. He wants to try the market right now with these first 4 lots. If it goes well, he's going to move forward and create a residential subdivision, 2-acre subdivision, following subdivision standards. To answer Commissioner McDermott's question about irrigation, this is currently irrigated by an existing water well. The whole 85 acres is currently under limits, as you can see on the pictures that Mr. Leal showed. We had the opportunity to review the conditions of approval. We're in agreement with them, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Commissioners with questions? Commissioner McDowell.
I don't understand why the applicant just doesn't ask for the rezoning for the parcels that he's going to develop, and as a trial balloon, I'm real uncomfortable with putting everything else in RA2. I would prefer that it would stay in RA10 until the next whatever happens, but I just am real uncomfortable of putting the whole 88 acres in 2-acre plots.
Commissioner Rice.
So there's no guarantee that he's going to develop the rest of the property right now.
Mr. Chairman, the intent is to develop the whole 85 acres. As of right now, he's rezoning everything to set it up for the future. That's common. We've done that in the past several times. And he's going to develop the 4 lots. If he does well in those lots, he's going to move forward and file a subdivision for the remainder of the property.
I would prefer we do the 4 lots and then you come back and do the rest. That's my feeling.
Chairman,
Commissioner Van Wy.
Sir, Mr. Rubio, they can't move forward anyway after, with the 4 lot, after that, they have to go into subdivision process after that anyway, right?
Mr. Chairman, so the question is if there's an intent to split and create the 6th lot,
Yes. After what their intent as of right now to do the 4, but anything after 6 becomes a subdivision, so they cannot do anything further after 6 anyway, right?
well, I mean, Mr. Chairman, I mean, it does get a little tricky if properties change ownership. I mean, anything can happen.
So that's why I want to get that clarified
Yeah.
before.
Chairman Bryant, I do have a concern, if I'm reading this right. Again, under critical issues.
Commissioner Mosqueda.
Good job. There,
I got it.
you got it. There's reference to ETAs for YCSO and rural metro. And my concern would be the length of time for emergency response too. If we're sticking a bunch of residential structures out there with the delayed response, I don't know what the capacity building or intent growth-wise is with YCSO or rural metro for service area. Just an observation.
Mr. Chairman, address that at all? No.
Mr. Rubio, I didn't get my question answered, I'm sorry. What, you said it gets tricky. What can be the worst case scenario is what I'm asking.
Mr. Chairman, as far as the splitting of the property, once they create 6 or more lots, it triggers compliance with the subdivision regulations. So developing the property as currently submitted, which is a site plan with 4 2-acre lots and 1
78.
70-plus acre lot, that can be done through a land division permit. Once they create 1 more lot, it triggers compliance with subdivision regulations.
Right, so if I could tell Commissioner Van Wy, I believe what the worst thing that could happen is he would sell the large piece of property to someone. They
Yeah.
would split it 5 times, and then they'd sell the other big piece to somebody. That's the worst thing that can happen, but he wouldn't have come in with his pot drawn with additional lots if that was his.
And if they did, they'd still have to come before us to redo everything else anyway, so.
Well, they'd have to come for the next land division. So you'd soon learn what was happening if they were trying to do that.
And Mr. Chairman, just to make the comment, this is a subdivision that was submitted to the county, the whole 85 acres, probably back, I want to say 12 years ago, 12, 14 years ago. And it expired, it reverted because of the economy. So now he wants to try it again. So the intent is to develop the whole subdivision. That's
And
the
so
intent of the
we
owner.
find ourselves here often, right, that we're trying to decide a rezoning case, whether the area it's compatible to have 2-acre parcels. But then we get caught up in the development phase. So either the area is compatible for 2-acre parcels or it's not. So I understand the concern, and I understand why you would want to say, I want to see the development plan before I go to 2-acre parcels. But that's kind of unfair if we're deciding proper land use. We're not really, we're trying to control development as opposed to designating proper land use under zoning. So it's 2 different steps in my mind. So I separated
Mr.
them
Chairman,
that way. Yes.
one clarification I think maybe would help. Does the zoning, what I'm trying to get through here, and I don't know how to say it exactly. If the zoning follows the land, the parcel ID, so you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 parcels right now. So if that's all tracked, and that's the question I'm trying to get to, is this tracked by Yuma County or how do we track that?
Mr. Chairman, if the parcel remains under the same ownership, and if the same owner creates that 6 or more lots, then it triggers compliance with the subdivision regulations. It is conceivable that they could sell off the remainder of that lot to different people, and they create their own 4 or 5 lots, depending on however many parcels are created by a new owner that comes into the picture.
That's what I was afraid
Okay,
of.
and the thing is, if we're going to make the 80 acres 2-acre parcels, that's already zoned, right? So if he sells it off in 10-acre parcels, I mean, I just am really, really uncomfortable. And if the irrigation is a well, there's no way a well is going to provide water to all those irrigable.
Mr. Chairman.
We have another agent coming forward.
Yes, sir.
Name and address for the record.
Chairman Kevin Dahl, Dahl Robinson and Associates, 1560 South Fifth Avenue. So this is getting out of hand. You have a parent parcel. Parent parcel is 88 acres. We're doing 10 acres. We're doing 4 lots, and the 5th lot is the balance of the property. The person's not going to sell it off. The parent parcel controls all the subdividing on this. This is ridiculous. We're zoning to go forward with a 43 lot subdivision. So that's just planning. We're here to plan, not speculate.
But why then don't we come in with the 43 lot plan?
If, Mr. Chairman, if this was a good economy, he probably would. He's trying out the economy. He's trying out the market. This is standard planning. We do this all the time. We do this all the time. We don't just zone for the current phase. We zone the property to develop multiple phases. If we do a subdivision, it's going to be a 10 of the plat. It could be 3 phases. It could be 4 phases. It could be 6 phases. Staff, is that correct?
So,
Well,
It's a speculative rezoning. You know, I just don't understand why the applicant doesn't separate out his trial balloon.
So, Mr. Chairman, we do this all the time. This is planning. We're zoning 88 acres. We can't subdivide more than 4 lots by land division. The 5th, the next one in, whether it's a new owner or not, the parent parcel controls that. I completely disagree with the staff's recommendation that if it's just sold, you can do 5 more lots. You cannot. The parent parcel controls that. If we need legal advice on that, we can certainly have that, but it's very clear in the state law. You cannot do that. That's wildcat subdividing.
and I think that's a clarification I was looking for. You know, who actually controls the parcel? Once we split it, you've got the zoning. How is that controlled if it's sold to another buyer, or, you know?
If it's sold to a different buyer, Mr. Chairman, is going to be a subdivision, period. You have to do a subdivision.
let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that if he divides 5 lots and sells the large portion, 78 acres, whatever's left, to another buyer, that buyer is held by and cannot do a 5-lot split?
Mr. Chairman, that is my understanding of state law. If we need legal advice, we certainly have one here.
Legal advice?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I would revert to staff right now, and that's something that we could look into, but it's my understanding that it's the 6th lot that triggers it. Is that correct? So right now, they have 5 lots total. If this goes forward, they have the 4 2-acre parcels and then the 78-acre parcel. So that's 5. So if the 78-acre parcel were to sell to a different owner, then that would still just be 5 lots.
Could that new owner then divide the big parcel into 5 more lots?
Based on what staff is saying, it sounds like you can, because that it would be a new owner of 1 lot, and then they would be.
So that's the worst case scenario based on everybody's fear, but let me explore a little bit. You designed a subdivision here once, a few years back.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
So the gentleman who owns it now owned it then?
Mr. Chairman, I believe so, yes.
Okay, so this gentleman has shown us that he wants to do a subdivision. He did a subdivision, did a design, economy tanked, he didn't do it. Now he's back kind of late in the game of this housing bubble, but he's back to want to do a subdivision again, but he wants to test the water by doing 4 lots.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. If I could, this is just irritating me. So we did a subdivision on 5E in about County 14 and a half. It was 5 lots. Different developer comes in east of him doing another 10-acre development. The 6th lot kicked in, according to staff, and this is engineering staff, that's a subdivision. So the 6th lot, whether it's a new owner, I still won't buy into the staffs that you can sell this and do 5 more lots. The 6th lot is a subdivision. I don't care if it's a new owner or the existing owner. It's a subdivision. So the zoning is of 88 acres, sets up this for a subdivision. If I go down the path of the rabbit hole, 5 lots gets developed, 4 lots developed, the 5th lot gets sold, the next person ends the subdivision. There's no harm, no foul.
I'm
Mr. Chairman?
uncomfortable with
The
that.
difference in the example that Mr. Dahl stated was that it was 2 separate zoning actions. And we did not require that they file a subdivision plat. We did require that they improve the road, providing access to all of the lots, that it be built to county standards. But a subdivision plat was not required in that instance.
You required more conditions, but you didn't require, you could not have required a subdivision plat, according to you.
We didn't require it because it came in under 2 separate zoning actions, 2 separate owners.
Good owners.
Each of those owners created their own 5
Yeah,
lots.
and so even if that's the worst-case scenario, I mean, I think we still need to look at the history of this property, which has a subdivision plat that expired. And the same owners wanting to do a subdivision again. This is his first step, is to get the zoning proper, split out 4 lots. I mean, maybe he should did the zoning and then come back and split the 4 lots out in the second action. Perhaps that might have made it a little simpler to get the zoning in place and then split the lots out. But we still would have to look at the history of this property and say it looks like the owner here intends to do a subdivision. We've got the explanation of why he wants to split out 4 lots. To me, the property is either compatible with 2-acre zoning. The owner wants 2-acre zoning. I don't think we need to have a development plan in order to rezone property.
So, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly right. So we're not here to subdivide, we're here to zone. We're here to zone 88 acres. We either get the zoning for 80 acres or we don't.
But there's more than one take on that, but which other commissioner has questions? All right, the commissioners have questions. If we need any more, we'll call you back up.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If adding another condition would alleviate the concerns of the commissioners, staff would recommend adding a condition number 4.
There we go. There.
We got an answer coming.
If 6 or more parcels are created, a subdivision plat shall be submitted within 5 years.
The applicant okay with that condition?
Mr. Chairman, we're fine with the condition, but can we remove the time limit?
Mr. Chairman, it has to have a time limit, so staff, if they can suggest their own time limit,
Time
but
limit. Is there a
no time limit is not an option.
Is there a time limit more comfortable for you?
Mr. Chairman, probably 10 years will be better.
County okay with 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have, we have a 4th condition that would solve part of the
Yeah, I think
concern.
that's,
Commissioner McDermott.
Yeah, I'm still now concerned, 2-acre parcels without water aren't worth much. So are we going to require some kind of irrigation?
Mr. Chairman, when staff makes a recommendation for providing access to irrigation water is because the lots already have access to irrigation water. So if the lots currently don't have access to irrigation water, it doesn't make sense
Understand.
to require
There is,
that condition.
there is no irrigation available. A private well is not an irrigation system, and so you're not requiring that. So,
Mr. Chairman, irrigation will be through private wells. Like I said, right now, currently, the property is being irrigated through a private well. And as it develops, each parcel will have its own well, and it's going to be irrigated with that. So. There's no infrastructure to extend any ditches to provide irrigation right now, currently, at the site. So.
Commissioner McDermott.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, in the current water age that we're in here in Yuma County, I foresee that there will be a shutdown of the ability of people to put in wells. Everybody's scrambling for wells right now. That's, I guess you play the game, you take your risks, and that's it. But I can see a real problem with 43 lots and 43 wells and 43 septic tanks. And anyway, a word of warning.
So we have, the applicant has spoke, so let's open the public hearing portion of the meeting and see if there's anyone else in the audience tonight would like to speak concerning this rezoning request, either for or against. Yes, sir. Please come forward, name and address for the record.
Last time I was up here, we were talking about a high voltage power line coming in from Mexico. It's a long time ago. Anyway, my name is Terrence Chandler. And my address is 4526 East County Road 16th, and I own parcels 3 and 4 as on the map. I currently live in parcel 3. 4 is open 5 acres. I object to the rezoning of 2-acre parcels. Partially what Ms. Bobby said is we have water issues. Now, I have a private well. There's an old irrigation well that's on borderline with my property, and I don't know what the number is behind me there. But I can't imagine 44 wells going in. Okay. Number 2 is we're in horse country here. We bought these properties for horses. And I don't think horses get along very well with 44 2-acre parcels. There's going to be complaints about the smell. The traffic, well, it's County 16th ends down a mile, so it probably won't impact the traffic very much. So essentially, my only objection is the fact that they're 2-acre parcels. For 5 acres or 10 acres, I would have no objection. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions of this speaker? If not, thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Staff, I have a question.
Okay. Commissioner Bowers?
The surrounding area, are they mostly 2-acre or 5-acre, or what's the average?
Mr. Chairman Bryant, let me bring up the zoning map. It appears that, Chairman Bryant, they're just a mixture of 5-acre, 2-acre lots, 80 acres. As you can see on the vicinity map, it shows mostly larger parcels to the north, south, some 5-acre parcels to the northeast, 2-acre lots to the southwest. The intent of the plan for this area is to allow 2-acre parcels.
So parcels 3 and 4 are 5-acre or 2-acre? That's up there.
They're 5 acres each.
5-acre parcels to the northeast.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner McDermott?
Is the SR2 developed at this point in time?
Chairman Bryant, the SR2 to the south is not developed.
Okay, we are still, if there's no other questions, and we still have the public hearing portion of our meeting open. Is there anyone else here tonight would like to speak concerning this rezone case, number 22-12? If not, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, come back to the commissioners for discussion and action.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Black.
you know, first comment, I think with staff, I think the biggest thing that we looked at was speculative zoning. I sensed that. But I think with the condition, I haven't heard it yet, but with the condition that you are writing or wanting to put in this, that would control that speculative zoning type situation.
You haven't heard, they stated, you want to state it again for the record? They did state the condition.
Mr. Chairman, there would be item number 4 under the schedule for development. If 6 or more lots are created, a subdivision plat shall be submitted within 10 years of approval by the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, with that being said, I would recommend approval of this rezoning case 22-12.
There's a motion by Commissioner Black. With a second by
I'll second.
Commissioner McDermott to recommend approval of rezoning case 22-12 with the conditions that were presented and the new condition that was added tonight and read into the record by the planning director. Any discussion? Vote on all in favor of the motion to recommend approval, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
There are 2 nays. Let the record show that Commissioner Rice and Commissioner Bowers voted no. The remaining commissioners voted yay. The commission passed the motion, and the recommendation will be for approval to the Board of Supervisors. Next item on tonight's agenda, item number 7. Text amendment case number 22-02, a text amendment to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Ordinance 309 to change the maximum height of fences exempt from permit requirements in section 1108-03 to increase the maximum height of fence walls to 7 feet in residential and rural area zoning districts. Staff?
Thank you, Chairman Bryant, members of the commission. Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning and Zoning Division. This request is the actual text amendment to amend sections 309.C2 and 110803 of the Yuma County Zoning Ordinance. And this is to change the maximum height of fences exempt from the permit requirements, and also to increase the maximum height of fences to from 6 feet to 7 feet in the residential and the rural area zoning districts. The current requirement is a maximum height of 6 feet. So this will actually put the zoning ordinance in harmony with and compatible with the building code. So the proposed text that the changes you'll see, the strike through is what we're proposing to eliminate, and the bold is actually what's being proposed. Section 309, this is the way it reads. So we're just substituting or removing this reference to 6 feet and changing that to 7. And this is the way it's going to be throughout the ordinance. So I'll just go over the slides. So here, the same thing here, 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 and that's about it. That's what we're proposing, the changes that the staff is proposing, and we are recommending approval of the text amendment.
Thank you. And we've looked at this once before, and does any commissioners have questions of staff? If not, we'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone here tonight would like to speak concerning this text amendment case number 22-02? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting and come back to the commissioners for discussion and action.
Mr. Chairman, you take a motion?
Yes,
I
Commissioner
would
Black.
make a motion to recommend approval of text amendment case number 22-02.
Second.
There's a,
I was first on that second, sir.
Commissioner,
We need little red flags.
all right, let's gain control of this meeting, huh? There is a motion by Commissioner Black with a second by Commissioner Van Wyk. He was the loudest. To recommend approval of text amendment case 22-02 as presented by staff. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion unanimous. The text amendment case will go with the recommendation of approval unanimously. Item number 8 on tonight's agenda. Text amendment case 22-03, a proposed amendment to the Yuma County Comprehensive Building Safety Code pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 11-861 to adopt the 2020 National Electric Code, 2018 International Code Council Mechanical Code, Plumbing Code, and Fuel Gas Code with some minor amendments as adopted by the City of Yuma. Staff report, sir.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Pat Eddington, Chief Building Fire Code Official for the county. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
I was glad it came to an end.
Anytime one of the members would like to, peruse one of those documents and just kind of get some information, let me know.
I'll call you for an appointment, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. They work great. If you have insomnia, it'll cure it. Like that, I promise. This proposal is to amend the Yuma County Comprehensive Building Code, replacing the 2012 editions of the International Code Council Plumbing, Mechanical, and Fuel Gas Code and our current 2014 National Electric Code. The city adopted these new codes at their meeting on May 4th. So we are beginning our process here. I'll share a couple of highlights with you, some of the changes that are in these codes. And first, I'll preface this by these 4 codes that we're talking about this evening are predominantly used for commercial construction. The only time we dive into these on residential uses is if there's something that's not already in our existing international residential code. One of those areas is solar photovoltaic installs on single-family homes. So that's just one of the areas that we get into. But there are several changes in here that are kind of interesting. Some of the changes in the 2018 plumbing code include some sway bracing for some drain lines larger than 4 inches. They've updated some of the fixture ratios, sinks, water closets, and such for assembly occupancies, backflow protection for some certain areas, and some new connection provisions for laundry trays. The fuel gas code, new requirements for combustion air transfer for dryers into smaller rooms. They're finding that fuel-fired dryers burning natural gas and propane aren't getting enough combustion air and taking that out of certain areas. There's some new bonding requirements for corrugated stainless steel gas line as well as arc-resistant corrugated stainless steel gas lines, and some updated standards for plastic pipe venting. We can actually use now, depending on the temperatures, plastic pipe to vent fuel-fired appliances. The mechanical code, some new requirements for pollution control units on grease ducts. Now, I'll let your mind run wild there for just a moment, but some of the wonderful aromas you might be smelling outside a steakhouse when they're grilling all of that, that's what these units are intended to solve and make go away. And then, of course, they've got an expansion on solar thermal systems. So within those 3 codes, there's really not a lot of updates or changes. The National Electric Code, however, makes up for all of that. So we're moving from the 2014 edition to 2020. there are over 1,400 changes in the text from 2017 to 2020. I didn't even look at the changes from 14 to 17. Some of them are simple changes, just a relocation of text from one area to another. Others, there's some new requirements in here that I would expect at some point will likely end up in our residential code. And this one, some of these may cause some trouble for us down the road, but we think we've got a couple of solutions. So the first one is the expansion of GFCI protection for dwelling units to include 250 volt receptacles. So that means your kitchen stove will now have to be GFCI protected. Your electric dryer will now have to be GFCI protected. And this extends also to outlets. So your air conditioning unit, 250 volts or less, will have to have GFCI protection. So, and I want to make sure that I highlighted this. This is commercial right now. I do expect that at some point this may find its way into our residential code. There is another edition of the National Electric Code to come out before we get to our next residential code adoption, so some of this may be addressed. Hard to say. Updated receptacle requirements for various occupancies, surge protection for dwelling units, and some recognition for some new listed cable connectors in concealed locations. That's always been a challenge if you're trying to splice a cable assembly, Romex non-metallic sheath cable in a concealed location. We haven't had some listed connectors for that, so we have those now. Returning, if you would, to the air conditioner deal or the 250 volt receptacles in kitchens, it was a big topic of discussion during the adoption process at the city. And so we've added a couple of exceptions to try and set aside that GFCI requirement, or basically provide some additional redundancy to try and capture any stray voltage that may be in these units and get it back. So we've added an amendment to, to include a grounding lug and an additional grounding conductor attached to the chassis of these HVAC units. So there again, just a redundant grounding conductor trying to capture that stray voltage and get it back to ground. And the other is not requiring the GFCI protection for HVAC units located on a roof or in an enclosure where they can only be accessed by maintenance personnel. So with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the Yuma County Building Advisory Board held a meeting August 3rd, and with a vote of 3-0, recommended adopting these, the 2018 International Plumbing Code, Mechanical Code, Fuel Gas Code, 2020 National Electric Code with the city's amendments. And so we present that here for you folks tonight for public meeting and action.
They make a GFCI for 250 volts.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rice, not that I have seen yet.
They will soon.
Real soon. I need to buy one. Even something
Pat, I'm-
within GFI.
Yeah.
They'll daisy chain one together, I guess, huh?
I'm assuming that the city had a lot of participation, I hope, from the local contractors?
The city, yes, I'm trying to recall the number of members that sit on the commercials board. I know there are 8, maybe a few more than that. And they include
12.
general contractors, designers, architects, electrical contractors, HVAC contractors, and plumbers, all of which offered their input on the amendments and adoption of these codes during the review process.
So if my recollection is, I mean, when the county comes, we can either adopt the city version or we can just adopt the code without amendments.
Correct. In accordance with the ARS 11861, Mr. Chairman, those are our two options.
Two options. What's the timeline of having to adopt them? I mean, how long, I mean, there's a lot of years went by. You said we're at 2014 and we're going to go to 2020.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the reason we've kind of been on a 6-year cycle with the city. And the primary reason for that is twofold. One, the cost and the time that it takes to adopt one of these codes. The city's review process took probably 10 meetings that included all of these folks coming in and having these conversations and basically going through these documents really almost one page at a time. So there's a lot of time involved there. Second is the expense. To purchase hard copies and require the number of copies that we need for both staff as well as on file for public record, this adoption alone is looking at something around $14,000 worth of documents that we've got to have on hand for staff as well as public record. So this allows contractors in the area to adopt a code, and they kind of settle into that for a little while. And then, yes, we go to another change process.
So, and the 6-year cycle is kind of just arbitrarily what the city has decided to do? I mean,
Yes, sir.
I bet you there's some folks wishing you could have stretched that to 7 or 8 years instead of the 6-year cycle. But I guess when it comes to the county, I mean, one thing we always talk about is we'd like the city and the county to be on the same page. Because then contractors and people know what to deal, no matter whether they're working in the city, the county, they're going to have the same codes to follow. So I guess even though it feels like we have no choice, that really the only choice we have is to adopt the city, is to approve this and go forward with it. Otherwise, we create a problem for the contractors.
Well, it gets more confusing for the contractors, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it's much easier to move in and out of the city and the county under the same umbrella of codes. Metro Phoenix area isn't so fortunate. They do not all adopt the same code. Maricopa may have something, Cave Creek something else, and each of those municipalities can amend those codes to suit their area and their jurisdiction. So, you know, in some places you might see a sign that lets you know you're crossing from one jurisdiction to another. They might change the color of the sidewalks to tell you, but other than that, it's on you to make sure you know what the rules are where you're working.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Rice, questions of Pat?
But this only applies to new construction.
We would also use these codes and apply these codes to tenant improvements, remodels, and such for commercial construction.
Existing commercial properties aren't affected.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rice. These predominantly are referenced during our commercial plan review.
They would come into effect if a commercial tenant was to do an addition or thing, you would enforce the new rules. Would he have to go back and add the things that weren't there on the old stuff? I mean, if he had three air conditioning units, would he have to go put on the existing 3 or just the 4th one he's adding?
No, that's not just, we're going to look at those as they are installed. We're not going to my knowledge, I don't have any intent on enforcing these on replacements.
Write that,
you want to write that down?
Bold.
You have existing legal wiring. You have existing legal installations, and
you're not going to make them illegal. Commissioner McDermott.
I was just, I was interested on whether new construction or commercial or whatever, but what about all of these electric cars and their charging stations that people are putting in their houses? Is there a difference? Is this sort of reflected in the changes in the electrical part?
So there are provisions in the electric code that discuss and talk about electric vehicle charging stations, both inside buildings as well as in the parking lots that we see. And we see a lot of those going up right now. So there are provisions there that do that. My biggest concern, and there was some proposed legislation this last year to require the addition of a 50 amp receptacle in all new dwellings and not address the load calculations for the entire structure. So that one did not pass, didn't go anywhere, thankfully, but that's damaging to the entire system. While I can understand the intent, we have to make sure that we're moving forward in a safe manner, especially with electrical. Once we start overloading these electrical systems, they become dangerous, they can start some fires, and we can have some trouble with them. So.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have questions of staff? Thank you, appreciate it.
Good luck.
It's a lot of reading.
Now that we have somebody in the audience, we'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting.
You want to come back up and speak?
Does anyone in the audience want to speak concerning this? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing portion of the meeting and come back to commissioners for discussion and action.
Bobby's excited to say it.
Go
ahead, Bob.
Commissioner
Go right
McDermott.
ahead. Mr. Dahl's happy with me, so. That doesn't
They were a
mean-
little baffled, but.
I know it.
Mr.
Well,
Chairman, I'd like to move that we accept Mr. Headington's presentation.
I'll second that.
There is a motion by Commissioner Van Wy with a second by Commissioner Black to recommend approval of text amendment case number 22-03 as so well presented by staff. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Recommendation is unanimous to recommend approval to the Board of Supervisors for text amendment case 22-03. Next item on tonight's agenda, item number 9, discussion by the commission members, planning director of events attended, current events, and the schedule of future planning commissions. Anyone out there have anything? Anyone up here have anything? Next item on tonight's agenda is item number 10. We will stand adjourned and wish you all a very good month.
Did make it.